Everyone dreams of being in a relationship where love, mutual respect, trust, and emotional support are the foundation. In a healthy partnership, both individuals should feel valued, free to express themselves, and encouraged to grow, both together and as individuals. However, not all relationships follow this ideal path. Sometimes, what begins as a seemingly caring or passionate connection can slowly turn into something harmful and suffocating. This shift is often subtle at first, making it difficult to recognize the red flags until the damage has already begun. One of the most emotionally draining and damaging forms of a relationship is the controlling and toxic dynamic, where one person gradually assumes power over the other, manipulating, isolating, and dominating their partner's choices, thoughts, or actions. Unlike overt abuse, control can be disguised as concern, love, or just wanting the best for you. Over time, this behavior chips away at the victim's confidence, independence, and even their sense of reality. What makes these relationships particularly dangerous is how easily control can be mistaken for affection, especially in the early stages. Statements like, "I worry about you," "I just want to protect you," or "you don't need anyone else but me" might initially sound caring, but when these sentiments are used to justify manipulation or limit your freedom, they become warning signs. Recognizing the signs of a controlling and toxic relationship is crucial, not just for protecting yourself, but also for supporting others who might be in similar situations. Below are some clear and important red flags that may indicate a relationship has crossed the line from healthy to harmful. 1. Constant monitoring and surveillance. A clear sign of a controlling relationship is when your partner constantly monitors your personal communication channels, whether it's your phone, text messages, emails, or activity on social media platforms. They might frequently ask to see who you're talking to, demand access to your passwords, or scroll through your conversations without your consent. In some cases, they'll expect constant updates about your whereabouts, who you're with, what you're doing, and even minor details like what you had for lunch or how long a meeting lasted. At first, this behavior might be disguised as care or deep interest in your life. They might say things like, "I just worry about you," or "I want to make sure you're safe." However, over time, these actions reveal a deeper need for control rather than genuine concern. This excessive monitoring creates an atmosphere of anxiety and self-censorship, where you feel like you're constantly being watched or judged. It erodes your right to personal space and privacy, two essential elements in any healthy relationship. You may begin to second-guess your actions, avoid certain conversations, or feel guilty for simply spending time with others. This kind of behavior is not love. It's possessiveness masked as protection. When someone needs to constantly track your life to feel secure in the relationship, it reflects their insecurity, not your untrustworthiness. True love respects boundaries. It fosters trust, not surveillance. If your partner makes you feel like you need permission to live your own life, that's not affection, that's control. 2. Isolation from friends and family. Another powerful tactic used by a controlling partner is isolation, slowly and deliberately distancing you from your support system, including your friends, family members, colleagues, or anyone who might offer you emotional strength or an outside perspective. This form of manipulation is often subtle at first. They might casually criticize a close friend, question the intentions of a family member, or suggest that certain people in your life are toxic, don't understand you, or are bad influences. Over time, these comments become more frequent and more intense, sowing seeds of doubt and encouraging you to cut ties or spend less time with the people who care about you most. In many cases, the controlling partner may create drama or conflict that makes it emotionally exhausting for you to maintain relationships outside of the one you have with them. For example, they may act offended when you make plans without them, guilt trip you for prioritizing time with your family, or start arguments just before you're about to go out with friends. They might even frame it as a test of loyalty. "If you really loved me, you'd stay." Or, "Why do you always choose them over me?" At first, you might give in to keep the peace. But gradually, your social world shrinks, and with it, your independence and self-confidence. This isolation doesn't happen by accident. It is often a deliberate strategy to make you emotionally and practically dependent on them. When you no longer have a strong support network, it becomes harder to recognize the toxic behavior, to get honest feedback, or to feel like you have nowhere else to turn. You may feel increasingly trapped, unsure of how to leave, or even question whether your experiences are valid. But remember, in a healthy relationship, your partner encourages your connections, celebrates your friendships, and respects your family ties. Any relationship that demands you choose between love and the people who care about you is not built on respect. It's built on control. 3. Emotional manipulation. One of the most insidious and damaging tactics in a controlling and toxic relationship is gaslighting, a form of emotional manipulation that causes you to question your own thoughts, feelings, and perception of reality. This behavior doesn't happen all at once. It unfolds gradually, and by the time you begin to notice something is wrong, you may already be doubting your ability to trust yourself. It often starts when you try to speak up about something that hurts or upset you. Maybe your partner said something cruel, crossed a boundary, or acted in a way that made you feel disrespected. Instead of acknowledging your feelings or taking responsibility, they flip the script. They might say things like, "You're imagining things. That never happened, you're just making it up. You're being way too sensitive. You always twist everything I say." At first, you might defend yourself, but after hearing these kinds of responses over and over, you begin to second-guess what you saw, what you heard, and even how you feel. You may start thinking, maybe I am too emotional, or maybe I am overreacting. They didn't mean it that way. Over time, this erodes your sense of confidence and clarity. You stop trusting your instincts, and instead, you start relying on your partner's version of the truth, even when it contradicts your lived experience. The more you try to stand up for yourself, the more your partner may escalate this behavior by blaming you for their actions. They might say, "I wouldn't get so angry if you weren't always pushing my buttons," or "You made me act this way." In doing so, they position themselves as the victim and you as the problem, making it harder for you to recognize their manipulation for what it is. Gaslighting is not just confusing, it's psychologically destabilizing. It can leave you feeling disoriented, anxious, and even ashamed for bringing up your needs. You may begin to withdraw, keep quiet, or suppress your emotions to avoid conflict. But the more you shrink yourself, the more power the manipulator gains. In a healthy relationship, your feelings are acknowledged, even if your partner doesn't always agree with them. You should feel heard, validated, and respected, not constantly forced to question your own reality. If you find yourself frequently wondering whether you're too much or not enough, it may not be you. It may be emotional manipulation wearing down your sense of self. 4. Financial control. They may closely monitor or control all aspects of your financial life, demanding to know how every single penny is spent, questioning even minor purchases, or requiring you to seek permission before accessing shared funds. In some cases, they may go as far as restricting your access to bank accounts, withholding money, or completely preventing you from earning your own income by discouraging or forbidding you to work. Over time, this kind of control creates a deep sense of financial dependency, where you're unable to make choices about your own life, from basic daily needs to long-term goals, without their approval. It limits your autonomy, traps you in the relationship, and erodes your sense of freedom and self-worth. 5. Demanding and threatening behavior. Another major red flag in a controlling and toxic relationship is when your partner begins to impose their will on how you live your life, from what you wear, how you speak, what you believe, to the goals you pursue, and even how you interact with others. This type of behavior often starts with small suggestions that seem harmless. "I don't like that outfit. It's too revealing." Or, "You shouldn't hang out with those people. They're a bad influence." Over time, these suggestions turn into commands and ultimatums, disguised as advice or concern. Before you realize it, you may find yourself seeking their approval before making even the smallest decisions, like choosing what to wear, posting on social media, or speaking your opinion in public. Their need for control often extends far beyond your appearance. They may try to shape how you think, what you believe in, or what you value. If your views don't align with theirs, they may mock you, belittle your intelligence, or suggest you're wrong, naive, or too emotional. They may act as though they know better, gradually pushing you to suppress your thoughts and agree with them to avoid conflict. What happens when you resist this control? In a healthy relationship, disagreement should lead to open discussion and mutual respect. But in a toxic one, disobedience is punished, sometimes harshly. Your partner may use a range of tactics to reassert power, such as giving you the silent treatment, exploding in anger, calling you names, or using guilt to make you feel responsible for the conflict. In more extreme cases, they may issue threats, emotional, verbal, or even physical, to intimidate you into submission. You might hear things like, "If you do that, don't expect me to be here. You're lucky I put up with you. Nobody else would want someone like you." This pattern of control and punishment is not love. It's domination, rooted in insecurity and a desire for power. Over time, you may begin to internalize their roles and anticipate their reactions, adjusting your behavior just to keep the peace. But doing so comes at a high cost: your freedom, your authenticity, and your sense of self. 6. Excessive jealousy and possessiveness. In a toxic and controlling relationship, jealousy is often used as a tool to manipulate and restrict you, rather than as a fleeting emotion that's dealt with maturely. A controlling partner may exhibit extreme and irrational jealousy, especially when you interact with anyone they perceive as a potential threat, often people of the opposite sex, but sometimes even close friends or colleagues. What might begin as seemingly innocent questions like, "Who are you talking to?" or "Why did they like your photo?" can quickly escalate into accusations, snooping, and full-blown confrontations. Their anger and suspicion may appear suddenly, even in situations where there's clearly nothing inappropriate happening. A simple conversation, a work meeting, or a casual social gathering can trigger outbursts of jealousy. Over time, this creates a hostile environment where you feel anxious about being friendly, polite, or simply social, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you fear how your partner will react afterward. The most dangerous part is that this jealousy is often framed as love. They may say things like, "I just care too much," or "I can't help it. I love you so much it drives me crazy." While these statements might sound romantic on the surface, they are often used to excuse toxic behavior, including possessiveness, emotional outbursts, and attempts to restrict your interactions with others. This warped form of affection becomes a weapon, one used to isolate, control, and make you feel guilty for simply being yourself. Over time, you may find yourself changing your behavior to avoid conflict, not replying to messages, avoiding eye contact with others in public, or declining invitations just to keep the peace. You may even start to believe that you're the problem, that you're doing something wrong by having friends, enjoying attention, or being sociable. But here's the truth. Jealousy is not love when it comes at the cost of your freedom. A healthy partner trusts you and respects your relationships outside of the romance. They don't monitor, accuse, or try to limit who you can talk to. Real love is rooted in trust, not fear. When someone uses jealousy to justify control, what they're really saying is, "I don't trust you and I want to own you." 7. You feel fear or anxiety around them. One of the most alarming and undeniable red flags in a controlling and toxic relationship is the presence of fear. Not necessarily fear of physical harm, but a deeper, more constant emotional fear that lingers in everyday interactions. You might feel like you're always on edge, carefully choosing your words, watching your tone, or avoiding certain topics just to keep the peace. You may find yourself thinking, "Will this upset them?" Or "How will they react if I say this?" before doing or saying anything. This kind of mental and emotional calculation becomes a survival strategy, one that slowly chips away at your sense of safety and peace. This fear often leads to a feeling described as walking on eggshells, an exhausting emotional state where you're constantly anticipating an outburst, silent treatment, or punishment for things that shouldn't cause a problem at all. Simple, everyday actions, being late, disagreeing on something, spending time with others, or expressing your emotions can trigger disproportionate anger, guilt tripping, or withdrawal. Over time, this creates a climate of emotional instability where you never quite know what version of your partner you're going to get. The affectionate one, the cold one, or the explosive one. This unpredictability causes anxiety, self-blame, and hypervigilance. You may start suppressing your needs, desires, or opinions just to avoid conflict. You might convince yourself that you're too sensitive, or that you're the one who needs to try harder, be more patient, or stop overreacting. But the truth is, you're not the problem, the dynamic is. A relationship where fear and tension are constant companions is not a healthy one. It's a space where love is replaced by power imbalances, and emotional security is replaced by control. In contrast, a healthy relationship is one where you feel emotionally safe, accepted, and free to be your full self. You should be able to express how you feel without fear of retaliation, ridicule, or withdrawal. If you consistently feel nervous, tense, or afraid of upsetting your partner, even in small ways, it's a sign that the relationship dynamic has become harmful and your well-being is at risk. At its core, a healthy relationship is grounded in mutual respect, open communication, trust, and emotional safety. It's a partnership where both individuals feel free to be themselves, to grow, to express, to connect with others, and to make decisions without fear of judgment or control. In a loving relationship, your voice matters, your boundaries are honored, and your sense of independence is not only respected, it's encouraged. If, as you reflect on the warning signs, you recognize patterns in your own relationship, even just a few, it's important to trust your instincts. That uneasy feeling in your chest, the constant anxiety, or the fear of doing something wrong isn't something to ignore. Toxic dynamics have a way of making you question your own judgment, which is why acknowledging the problem is such a powerful and courageous first step. You're not alone. Many people find themselves in controlling relationships without realizing how much of themselves they've lost until much later. That's why reaching out, whether to a trusted friend, family member, therapist, or support organization, can be life-changing. These connections can help you gain perspective, rebuild your confidence, and begin creating a path forward that prioritizes your well-being. Leaving a toxic relationship is never simple. It often involves emotional, practical, and sometimes even physical challenges. There may be fear, guilt, confusion, or moments when you doubt your decision. But no one deserves to live in fear, silence, or under constant pressure to please someone else at the cost of their own identity. Reclaiming your life, your freedom, your voice, your peace is a journey, but it begins with one brave step. Whether that means seeking help, setting boundaries, or walking away, you are worthy of a life filled with dignity, joy, and safety. The love you deserve doesn't control you, silence you, or make you small. It uplifts you and allows you to be fully, unapologetically yourself. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.